everyone, it's Kelly here from Lawn Fawn with a video for Simon Says Stamp. So I had this Happy Holidays slider idea in my head and I just had to make it. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp out a bunch of images from this set and color them in with my Copic markers. So I've laid down my light marker and then my medium, and I'm going to add some dark marker right along those edges of the leg and the ear, blend that out with the medium, and then blend the whole thing out with my light marker. And by adding just a little bit of that darkest marker, it gives a nice shadow around his ear and his leg, giving him kind of a three-dimensional look. I'm repeating the same idea with the scarf, adding some shadow where the two scarf ends overlap to also give it once again that three-dimensional look. Then for the hat, I'm going to add my light areas towards the middle of the hat, and that's going to make it kind of look rounded, which is really cool. So I'm blending that all out with my lightest marker and then repeating the same thing, dark outside the edges and then blending it in with the light towards the middle. Now I'm going to use the coordinating dies to cut these out, so I'm going to line it up and hold it in place with some Post-it note tape, run it through my die cut machine, and then have these perfectly cut images right there. They look awesome. And then I'm going to layer those pieces onto the dogs, the little hat and the scarf, and I think it makes him look just so cute. Now here I have a stitched rectangle die, and I've cut some white cardstock and some peacock cardstock from that. And then I'm going to take out my Little Town border die and my stitched hillsides, and we're going to layer all of these together with the slider die. So I'm kind of placing everything onto my card so I know where everything should go. And then I can go ahead and die cut that first hill. So I'm going to hold that in place with some tape and run it through my die cut machine. And now I have my first base hill for this. Then I'm going to take what's left over of that stitched rectangle there and line up my other hillside die because I really want it to make it look like rolling hills there. So I'm going to run that through my die cut machine, and then I'll have my second hill. And then I'm going to cut one more stitched white rectangle, and I'm going to use my Little Town border. So I'm going to line all of these pieces up once again so that I know where to place those cute little houses. So I'm going to stack those all together and then put that Little Town border there and run that through. And by using all of that same stitched rectangle, every piece is going to have stitching all the way around it, which looks really, really cool. I'm using my mini Misty to stamp my sentiment, the dash on through the snow, which I think is so cute. And then here I'm going to use my Y32 marker just to color in some cardstock to create a custom color to be the glow of the houses. So I just scribbled that marker right on there, and I'm going to trim out little tiny pieces, add some glue to the back of my houses, and then line that little tiny piece there. And by doing that, it's going to make it look like there's a glow coming from the windows, which is so pretty. So I'm going to repeat the same thing. I'm going to add some glue to the back and hold that piece of Copic colored cardstock right in there. So now I've added some glue to the back. Again, I did it to all the houses, and now here's my last one. Now next I'm going to use my slide on over die, and these dies were designed to line up with the stitched hillside so you can see it's a perfect match. I've got it in the perfect place there. I'm going to put a bunch of Post-it note tape on it, run it through my die cut machine, and now I have my slider track ready to go. Now I need a white base for my slider track, so I have trimmed a piece to 5 inches wide, just like my hill, and now I'm going to trace the hill that I've cut onto that piece of white cardstock. Then I'll be able to just trim that down, and it's going to be a perfect match for my hill, and it's just a nice, quick, and easy way to do that. It doesn't need to be perfect because no one's ever going to see it. And then I'm going to take my Scotch foam roll tape here, and I'm going to triple it up. So I've folded it over once and now a second time to create triple thick foam. And then I'm going to trim it down to a nice thin piece that I'm going to be able to place on the back of my slider track. So I'm going to go all the way around that track without touching that track with the foam. So you'll see here I'm just going to cut some different custom sized pieces here to go all the way around that track in a rectangle, just like this. After I've created this rectangle, I'm also going to trim 2 little pieces to kind of fill in the area there towards the left, just to give it a little bit more stability. But once again, it's not going to be in the way of the penny. So I've got my penny there to make sure that it won't be. Now here I have a piece of tripled up foam that I am going to cut down to fit perfectly onto this penny. I'm going to hold that penny in place and then stick the foam to the penny, creating that cool little slider mechanism. Here I have my powder tool, and I'm going around all of the edges of all of the foam tape, and that's going to remove any excess stickiness so that everything works really, really well in this slider track. I'm also going to run the powder tool through the track, and that helps the penny move super fast in the track too. Now I can take off that liner tape on that penny and take my cute little dog here and line him up with the penny and just place him right on there. Next, I'm going to take the whole thing, turn it over, and peel off all of that liner tape. And then I can line up that piece that I kind of custom trimmed to fit to be my base for the slider mechanism. So I'm just going to line that right up on the back. And now I can work on creating the base of my card. So I've taken out my Snow Cool stamp set and I'm inking it up with some Yeti ink, which is white pigment ink, and I'm going to stamp that all across my peacock cardstock, and I think it's just such a pretty snowfall. And now I decided I wanted my card to not be as tall. So I'm going to trim off 1/4 of an inch so that instead of 3.5 inches tall, it's now 3 1/4 inches tall. And because we're covering up the bottom part with the little town border that already had the stitch detail, no one will ever know that we trimmed it. So it's a really cool way to get a custom sized stitched rectangle. Next, I'll add a ton of adhesive to my slider mechanism and layer that onto the bottom of the card. Here I have my perfectly plaid Christmas paper, and I'm going to pick out the perfect plaid, which is this nice red and teal one, and trim that down so that there's an 1/8 inch border. So it's going to be 5 1/4 by 3 3/4. Then I'll trim down a card base to be 7.5 by 5 1/4, and then I'll go ahead and score that at 3 3/4 to create this cool custom sized card base. Then I'm going to layer all of my pieces to finish this card. So I've got my plaid paper and then my big scene here with the slider mechanism that I'm going to lay right on top. And this card is done, and it was quick and easy to do, and it is such a fun little slider. I love seeing this dog just run through the snowy hills. It's just the cutest thing. I think it would make anyone's day. So I cannot wait to see what kind of awesome Howlidays sliders you guys come up with, so make sure to share them with us. Thank you so much for watching, and have an absolutely amazing day. Bye!